Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the eChannelNews podcast. I'm your host, Paulo Delnibleto. Today's workplace is constantly evolving. Just when you thought that hybrid was the answer, the marketplace changes the question. For example, 72% of organizations have AI agents in production, but most lack essential controls. And in the latest research report shows that AI agents are quickly entering key business operations. However, organizational governance is struggling to keep up. Here to talk about this and more is Antoine Jabari, the co-founder, GM of Channels and Alliances for JumpCloud. Antoine, welcome back to the program.
Thank you, Paulo. It's great to be here.
So, one of the things I really love about JumpCloud is their slogan, born in Louisville, Colorado, but located everywhere their employees are, which is very, very apropos in today's work environment. So, I mentioned the research report, which you guys sponsored. Uh, Tell me, from your perspective, what's the biggest concern coming out of that research that you feel is important to tell the MSPs out there?
I think that we live in a new world today that's happened to come our way very fast and is moving extremely fast, right? We thought that the dot-com bubble and the dot-com era happened quickly, or that the cloud modernization layer happened quickly. Like that wave is much bigger and is coming extremely fast. Now, what I'm seeing a lot of these days is everyone's starting to see the benefits of these new agentic capabilities that can be rolled out in an applied way within organizations.
Mhm.
But the number of companies really adopting these capabilities at scale is still not where it needs to be. There's a long tail where you've got like the early adopters at the bleeding edge of what
Mhm.
needs to happen. And then you've got this long tail of companies that are still trying to figure out how to incorporate these new capabilities. That's not to say that like they're not using AI, right? A lot of people are chatting into chat interfaces with
Mhm.
chat interfaces and getting copy written better, getting ideas. There's productivity gains there.
Mhm.
I'm talking more about like the fundamental view of like what a company is and how it's run and how it scales and how it competes and how it evolves. Like these definitions have now changed, and the world needs to do that transformation, similar to the internet migration to the cloud transformation, but
Right.
that needs to be done. That's way deeper and it's happening way faster.
Are you concerned at all that maybe, from what you just said, the small business, mid-sized business may be, not taking advantage of AI, what the global 2000 players may have the, resources and wherewithal to take advantage of? Is that sort of something that maybe JumpCloud wants to get in and sort of provide an avenue there?
I would say in general, like that long tail tends to incorporate SMB businesses. But like the great thing is that there's a support network that has been built over decades that is amazing, which is the channel community, are all the
Mhm.
MSPs, value added resellers, system integrators, but mostly MSPs and the lower end of like the segmentation of the market
Right.
are in an amazing position to reimagine their own businesses as advisors, supporters, like guides that can help like these like the vast amount of SMBs go through that transformation. So yeah, I
Right.
mean the risk is there. From a JumpCloud perspective, we're already in that space. Like we're very early on that space. Identity is at the core of this new wave because as you get more and more non-human identities, more and more agents, more and more intelligent workflows, all of these different components need to be equipped with identities. So you know who they are, what roles they're operating under, and that their activities are actually logged and auditable and can be part of a compliance framework. And we've done lots of moves in this space. We've got a long roadmap. We're already seeing some massive gains where we're able to equip non-human and agentic identities, agentic like workflow
Right.
systems
Yeah.
with digital identities that allow them to be defined, guardrailed, and audited.
Antoine, you brought up MSPs. Where do you think they stand in this mix with AI and governance?
So I spend a lot of time with MSPs on a daily basis, weekly basis, etc. And there's a wide spectrum of MSPs today. There's a subset that has really embraced, adopted, developed already know-how around these areas, and they're actively helping customers go through these transformations. They're educating, they're pushing the boundary of what's possible, and
Mhm.
like these businesses are thriving. And
Mhm.
then across the other side of that spectrum, you have the MSPs that have not done the move yet, and are like using AI in a kind of borderline like fashion where like
Right.
these like small gains that we're seeing. And with that spectrum, there's also like a very, very long tail. So I I can't say that I'm seeing the move happen as fast as I want it to be. There's still a lot of resistance, and
Mhm.
that's understandable. There's been a lot of noise over the last 3, 4 years around what works, what doesn't. Lots of different vendors have shipped things very early that haven't necessarily increased the confidence of the industry in these different capabilities. But that has now changed. I would say over the last 6 months, we've seen a significant shift in like how robust, scalable, and like operationally advantageous the adoption of these systems can be. And I'd like to see more and more MSPs like adopt these, like become leaders, thought leaders in that space for their customers to help the world migrate
Yeah.
and faster.
Yeah, they should be a voice for that. I totally agree. But let's talk work. How are global environments reshaping the MSP market as you see it, Antoine, including like the changing and security landscape, with malware-free attacks and AI-assisted phishing, for example?
So today, everything happens faster, right? Attacks
Mhm.
happen faster. The mitigation has to be extremely fast. Decision making in general needs to be agile. There's a lot of new components within systems. Like
Mhm.
AI is supposed to simplify, but at the moment, it's complicating infrastructures, workflows as companies figure out uh, what is happening. So these shifts are happening. There's a lot more agents doing actions on devices and third-party systems. The best example is coding agents, where
Yeah.
most companies adopt coding agents. They're typing commands into systems. They're moving files around. They're affecting like the contents of operations of third-party cloud or native systems. And all of that comes with risk. And we're seeing it. And today, like as we're recording it on May 12th, there's a new like supply chain attack that's affecting NPM packages at
Mhm.
scale and that is getting disseminated at scale. And the mitigation is a complex thing because it needs to happen almost as fast as the attack is happening. So everything's getting more complicated in the short term. There's a lot more need for security, for visibility, for thought leadership around this. And as I said before, like MSPs are perfectly positioned to be that guiding voice, helping the market steer in the right direction.
You recently mentioned living off the land attacks. Something I'm not too privy with. What's that all about? What's the inherent danger that MSP should be looking into?
It's essentially like leveraging existing tooling that's in there, that's whitelisted, that's considered part of the operating system or the core like IT infrastructure of a company to conduct attacks. Like a good example of this is a prompt injection, for example, in a coding
Yeah.
agent. You ask a coding agent to do something, they go pull information from the internet to know how to do it. Part of that is an injection that
Yeah.
actually leverages PowerShell, like whatever capabilities that are on the system to run commands that are malicious. Very
Mhm.
hard to detect when you're uh, the human operator running the show. And
Yeah.
these are the types of attacks that can disseminate at scale. Like that's a view, like a scope of how these types of attacks can happen today. We need to protect companies around these types of things. We as a collective whole, right? If we're going to continue leveraging these types of capabilities, there needs to be rails, foundations that help us get there. And that's going to come through different means. But like again, going back to the point of like MSPs managing the environments of like hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of customers
Mhm.
all over the world. These are attacks that are real. They're happening on a daily basis. It's going to get worse before it starts to be better understood and gets
Yeah.
mitigated over time. And like understanding what these attacks look like, understanding what mitigation, like discovery mitigation paths looks like, and being able to clearly communicate to customers and different stakeholders current state of things in general, but also in specific situations is going to be key.
Yeah. You came up with a very interesting concept recently, in the face of AI assisted credential theft, businesses, they have to treat identity as a perimeter. This is the thing that I was really interested in, to effectively protect against evolving threats. Why is that?
So when you think about how the IT world used to run, say 15 years ago, the
Mhm.
perimeter was the office. It was a physical space
Yeah.
where you
Yeah.
had a domain controller and computers around the office would connect to it. And that was the perimeter that you had to protect. But then the cloud revolution happened and the perimeter shifted from a physical location, a geography,
Feel like,
uh, to a dispersed virtual
yeah.
estate where the user's identity is now fragmented by default across that estate. And with agentic systems now, you're taking a set amount of humans, 8 billion on Earth, that could potentially be using have digital identities, and you're supplementing them with potentially billions of agentic uh,
I know it's
workflows
crazy.
that also have identities. So identity is truly the perimeter, and that
Yeah.
perimeter is expanding very quickly. And and I think that like if you're not prepared for it, you're not in the best situation, not just from a security perspective, but also from a helping your customers grow and outcompete their competition that is leveraging these capabilities.
Another key message that the JumpCloud you specifically also come up with is simplification. And I don't want to make that overly simple either, but what is JumpCloud doing in this area?
So for us, we look at IT, specifically the realm of access management and device management, as part of of a single organism.
Mhm.
When you look at like how companies traditionally tackled that problem, you'd have 7 or 10 different vendors for password management, Mac device management, Windows device management, single sign-on, SaaS management, privilege
Yeah.
access management, so on and so forth. This approach made sense while the world was still figuring out the migration to the cloud, where this solution would come up for this problem, a company would get created, it would become massive, and then another solution comes out, and that company that solves that problem gets massive. So you end up with 15 large different vendors and hundreds of smaller vendors solving the problem. Today, we're in a completely different space where this perimeter that we're talking about and the capabilities that companies expect out of these different systems are well understood. And what JumpCloud has done extremely well, in my opinion, is take all of these different capabilities, identity management, access management, device management, identity for humans, for non-humans, for agents, so on and so
Right.
forth, and has put all of that in a single pane of glass that allows companies to have, in a lot of cases, single-click workflows that touch across these different areas that to lead to business outcome. Like you're onboarding someone, that person comes with a set of agents that need to be spun up. They come with a set of devices. They need Wi-Fi access. They need VPN access. They need cloud application access. They need legacy application access. This shouldn't be 15 actions across 9 different
Yeah.
systems. This is one onboarding. The outcome is I want to onboard the employee. That's how we think about things for solving humans problems, but also now increasingly agents problems.
Well, Antoine, fantastic insights. Really appreciate your time. Where can people, specifically MSPs, find you specifically in JumpCloud? Where should they be searching for you?
So I'm where people would expect to find me on LinkedIn, etc. But I'll also share my email address here. It's Antoine, Antoine, at jumpcloud.com. Feel free to reach out to me. And to learn more about JumpCloud, jumpcloud.com.
It's pretty simple. Well, Antoine, really appreciate your time and all your insights. Thank you very much for joining us on eChannel News. And that's it for me, Paulo Dunley Bledo. Until next time, so long.